The story continues with Isaac's second son, Moritz Politzer, who went on to become a much sought-after doctor known as Moishe Border. The neighbouring landlord, Count Palfi, trusted him to the extent that he'd often send his own carriage to pick him up, and also recommended him to the rich Viennese Jewish banker, Arnstein. Little wonder then that rich Pozsony Jews availed themselves of Moritz Politzer's medical services. The young doctor's reputation travelled fast. In Pozsony, Moritz would pay visits to Moses Leitersdorfer, a rich merchant, where he met his stepdaughter, Rachel Kaiser. Rachel was the only daughter of a Zolliger bookseller called Josef Kaiser. Kaiser also had 3 older sons, the oldest of whom emigrated to America, where he made his fortune. He encouraged everyone in the family to get baptized and emigrate to America. Eventually, Josef Kaiser and 2 of his sons got baptized, but the little Rachel would have nothing of the kind, and one night she ran away from her father's house to a family in the neighborhood. However, the local Catholic Church cared for the soul of Rachel and sued for her, much to the dislike of her relatives and the Zolliger Jews. A lawsuit began, which eventually went as far as the imperial court. Emperor Francis finally ruled that the girl should have the choice to decide for herself. This was carried out in such a way that in Zolligerseg, Christian and Jewish burghers were lined up in 2 rows. The judgment was read out to Rachel, who was called upon to stand on the side whose faith she wished to follow. Rachel decided on the Jews. The rabbi, who was present, blessed the young girl, wishing that her brethren be good and happy people. Moses Leitersdorfer in Pozsony adopted Rachel and provided her the best education possible. She had many suitors, and Rachel chose the gifted young doctor Moishe Border. They got married around 1795. The marriage proved to be a happy and fruitful one. Rachel gave birth to their first child, Abraham, in 1797. In the following years, he was followed by Sabel, Chava, and finally Philip and Shmula. Sadly, they were unable to enjoy their happy family life in the Politzer house in Kupching. Napoleon's armies swept across Austria and Hungary. Napoleon's soldiers, like every army in those days, supplemented their pay by looting. They caused the population immense suffering and hardships. Because the Jews were not permitted to own land, the richer Jews kept their wealth in goods, money, gold, and jewelry. Malicious adversaries were quick to point the French soldiers in their direction. Rachel Politzer was expecting her youngest child. Her husband suspected what would happen if the French were to arrive in Kupching, so one night he secretly buried his valuables without telling anyone a word. His worst fears were confirmed. A few of the French soldiers were quartered in their home, who demanded money and valuables. The French refused to believe he had nothing, ransacked the cellar and drank all the wine. A drunk, violent soldier hit him on the head with a rifle stock. The famous doctor lost conscience and died the next morning. The children were thus orphaned, and the good woman about to give birth was left penniless. After the French left, many tried to help her, but poor Rachel and her children barely scraped a living. They managed to keep the house and were supported by the Leitersdorfer family. Rachel made some money doing needlework, which she was good at. This wonderful woman would do household work during the day and work through the night with her older daughter to make ends meet. To crown their misfortune, there was a fire one night, and part of the roof burnt down. Rumour had it that it was arson, because someone had hoped to find the hidden treasure under the ashes. The poor woman was soon forced to sell the house. Arnstein, the Viennese banker, took her oldest son Abraham with him to Vienna and had him trained as a land surveyor.